Evening folks, Bradley Wade here with my second edition of my tactical analysis of Arsenal's games. Sorry for no game the last time we played at Brighton when I was very ill. As you can see, man flu struck, and we all know how debilitating a disease that can be, so my apologies for no upload, but I'm not going to bring it up and I'm going to struggle on regardless. And to help me get through the aches and pains that is flu, I've been greeted with this magnificent game to divulge on. It's not Groundhog Day to see Arsenal play like this, but it's Groundhog Day to see Arsenal react to a game like this, because once again Arsenal started out well. You know, like Watford had already changed the way they play. They usually play with 4 and went to 5 at the back just so they could counter Arsenal's wing backs and try and restrict the space. But Arsenal had a counter for that. It was a game plan that was well worked for an hour, and then not by changing the game plan but by changing the players involved, Arsenal completely screwed themselves over. They lost all impetus and threw away a game that was there to be won. And to explain why, we have to figure out where Arsenal were playing well in the first place, and it was down to these 3. It was down to Welbeck, Lacazette and Iwobi not playing in the position that it was expected they would play. And what I mean by that is that if you recall a couple of years back when Barcelona were in full pump, when we're going to score 6 goals today, bleep you, and Manchester City are starting to replicate that in a way, especially at home, good lord. But when you see a lineup like this, you think, right, Iwobi's going to play right wing, Welbeck's going to play left wing, and Lacazette's going to play in the middle. In the same way, Neymar would play left wing, Suarez would play striker, and Messi would play right wing. But like with Barca, sometimes Messi would be there, sometimes Neymar would be there, sometimes Suarez would be there, sometimes Messi would play through the middle. And what it would mean would be, like, for the defenders, not only would they not have somewhere to base their defensive line on, but they wouldn't know who to mark. They wouldn't know which runner to track. And what it would do is it would just make little lanes like that if 2 of them went there, because Britos didn't know whether he should be marking Lacazette at the time. So maybe Britos would also go towards Lacazette, which means the 3 were there, which means Bellerin would go. It was a game plan that was based on tempo and movement, and for an hour Arsenal had tons of it. Were they, cavalier, swashbuckling, we're going to score 6 and we're going to thrash you? No, but they didn't need to be, because having Iwobi and Lacazette and Welbeck just consistently moving around kept their wing-backs there. It meant that Cleverley and Doucouré had to focus on trying cutting the passing lanes, a bit like what West Brom did a few weeks back. And their only real outlet was long balls to Richarlison every time Bellerin was up the field, and it kind of worked. I mean, him and Koscielny had a good battle over the game. Gray did nothing. Pereira was too busy trying to man that gap between Kolasinac and Xhaka, and for the most part Watford were contained. And they were contained because every time Arsenal got the ball, they always had an outlet, because Welbeck, even as we have it there, Welbeck was often there. Sometimes he was there, sometimes he was there, sometimes he was there. Lacazette, sometimes he was there, sometimes he was there, sometimes he was there. Iwobi, sometimes he'd drop back into the middle to play through the middle like he likes to, but sometimes he'd be up there and sometimes he'd be there. There was never a sense of Arsenal were being predictable. There was never a sense of Arsenal being one-paced. They could knock it round the back and the side for 45, 60 seconds, and then Xhaka would play one through ball, Welbeck's in, and then Lacazette's in. Or maybe that's Iwobi, or maybe that's Lacazette himself. Watford were too preoccupied with having to mark Arsenal's runners that they had no time to put their own attacks together, and it just meant that everything was controllable. Everything was at a pace that Arsenal wanted to play at, and there was no threat, really, as long as Arsenal could maintain that control. And it's not that Arsenal lost control, or that Watford, sorry, it's not that Watford gained control back, it's just Arsenal changed the way they played, but not on purpose. Because for an hour, again, Arsenal were not unstoppable, but Arsenal had numbers on their side. They had the three up front who were consistently taking control of the game by making sure Watford's three centre backs didn't know where to stand. They had Bellerin doing his trademark undercut. Most full backs they'll do that. Bellerin, knowing that Arsenal's strength is through the middle, would go there, just giving Arsenal that extra overload that means that Kolasinac will have more room on this side when the defence does that to try and cope with the numbers there. But what happened to Arsenal was not that they changed their tactics, but they were forced to make one substitution which made sense, and then compounded on the first substitution by making a second one that didn't make any sense at all. And what I mean by that is that Arsenal were 1-0 up and were playing like this, and then Welbeck got hurt again, which is unfortunate, but like he misses 20 games in 7 years for United, and then misses 84 for Arsenal in 3.5. I mean, it's just unlucky. But when you have that to bring on, it's not bad. Let's be fair. And yes, Ozil did miss one good chance, but he'd been on the pitch for 45 seconds. Like, he was cold, and most lads would have just thrashed that into the bottom corner, or at least hit it as hard as possible. But that's not Ozil. He's going to come up with some clever way of trying to finish it, and his clever way is to try and give the eyes to the goalkeeper and make him go the wrong way and go and misread him. If Ozil had been in the game 10 minutes, got up to his pace, maybe got a few more touches under his belt, it's his first game for 3 weeks, maybe a month. Maybe he got a little bit more confidence, and maybe he would have the confidence to try and curve it round him, or over him, or lob him, but he didn't. And Arsenal were, they could have put the game to bed at 2-0, and it's 45 seconds later, Richarlison gets behind Bellerin again. Bellerin catches him, and then puts himself in a position where he can give away a penalty. It's one of those ones, but Arsenal was still in the game. Arsenal were still in a position of being able to manipulate Watford's defensive will, because they still had Lacazette making those runs, they still had Iwobi making those runs, and they had Ozil as well as Xhaka who could find them. But then they did that, and I've put a minus sign by Giroud by mistake, but he was an absolute minus to the team, because when he came on, all the movement that Arsenal had just disappeared, and all the pressure that they were able to put on Watford's backline disappeared because Giroud stood there. And that meant Mariappa was able to push up the field, it meant Cabaselli was able to push up the field, it meant Britos was able to push up the field, it meant Clevy, instead of there 10 yards inside of his own box, was now 5 yards inside of Arsenal's. Same with Decore. It meant that everyone was able to push forward. It meant that Gray, who had been subbed off and was replaced by Deeney, was able to go right up onto Mertesacker's shoulder. And for 20 minutes, Arsenal had no control. And that is an absolute travesty of a situation that was completely avoidable. Completely avoidable. And it's one that's purely has to be put on the manager, because Giroud should never have been put on there. Absolutely should never have been put on there. It should have been Walcott. If Walcott had been thrown on, they could have gone Walcott up front, Iwobi to play there, Ozil there, and then gone to a system that they played at Rubin Kazan, where Giroud and Walcott were playing, and they had Jack Wilshere here. And then play, little 1-2s and away they go. But Arsenal were able to control Watford, not through controlling the ball, but just by pushing them back, just because Watford were afraid of the runs behind them. And we brought on, like I said, we didn't bring on Walcott. Where Walcott was not even considered. It was that. And because of that, Arsenal spent the last 20 minutes basically like this. And you would think in that situation, you would think your two defensive midfielders would go, right, okay, we're getting pushed back, so we have to go there. Let our defensive line form on the 18-yard box, and we have to mark everyone. We have to look out. We have to make sure that we do our job. And this is where Arsenal's, I won't say inability to defend, but their decision making lets them down because they are always looking for the goal. They are always looking to put themselves in position to score, and they would rather that than defend. And the best example I can give of that is the Watford goal, because as you've all seen by now, the picture of Xhaka there, waiting as cleverly, literally saunters past him, gets into the box and scores. Xhaka is not waiting there because he doesn't want to defend. Xhaka is waiting there because he wants to start the counter-attack that gets Arsenal a winner. And that's the problem with Arsenal at the moment, is that most teams defend as units and attack as individuals. You know, if you look at Real Madrid, who are the classic example right now, where everyone defends, and then if they need a goal, they give it to Ronaldo or they give it to Bale. You know, even Bayern Munich, even under Guardiola, when they were playing this sumptuous one-touch passing football, occasionally it would be give it to Robin, give it to Ribery, and everyone would defend as a unit and keep it nice and tight, and then hopefully attack. With Arsenal, it's the other way around. Arsenal attack as a team. Arsenal get a great shape going when they're playing as a team, but they defend as individuals. So when the ball is in the middle of the box in the 91st minute, Xhaka is leaving it to Mertesacker to deal with it. He's not thinking there. He's not sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, I have to get involved because we're about to lose." He's there thinking, "The defence has sorted this out. I'm a midfielder. I'll get the ball and I'll start the attack." It's a curious juxtaposition that Arsenal are in, that Arsenal have changed to 5 at the back, and even though that should make the defenders more secure about the protection they have in front of them, it's actually made them less secure, because especially Xhaka has now taken it upon himself to go, right, well, I'm not needed as a defensive midfielder now. There's 3 at the back and we've got 2 wing backs. That's plenty. I'll sit here. I'll wait. They defend. I'll get the ball and then I'll start the attack. And it's that lack of awareness, that lack of tactical awareness, that lack of urgency, that lack of ability just to see, oh God, we're going to concede. I need to give up everything because I need to get in there because there's danger. The willingness to sacrifice that in order to possibly start another attack is where Arsenal falls down, because as I don't think Troy Deeney was right when saying Arsenal lack cojones, but Arsenal are willing to go down a goal in order to maintain their chance of scoring one back, which is fine in the 72nd minute, but they just don't have the awareness to not do that in the 92nd minute. And that's a problem, because then how do you fix that? How do you fix that? We went to 5 at the back, in essence, because of our inability to keep clean sheets away from home, our inability to be solid. So we've gone to 5 at the back. We've played a defensive midfielder in Xhaka, a defensive midfielder in Elneny, and still in the 92nd minute, Watford have attacked with 4 guys and scored. How is that possible? How is a team so accustomed to conceding goals like they do, making mistakes as elementary as that? And that's going to be the issue going forward. I don't think it matters how this team lines up at the moment, as long as it has players like Xhaka unwilling to defend. And I know that's harsh, and I know it's an extremely strong critique, but if he's not willing to defend, then you have to replace him with someone who will. And maybe it's who's the other option? Coquelin? Because if you change Xhaka with Coquelin, if you change him with Coquelin, what you're basically saying is we're playing 7 at the back. Now, when Ramsey comes back, it won't be so bad, but you're basically saying we are sacrificing a player. And if you've got if those three, if that's Alexis, that's Lacazette, and that's Ozil, then yes, on occasion those three will win you the game. You know, Chelsea won the league with Hazard, Costa, and Pedro. You know, like it is possible, but Arsenal have always attacked with numbers. Arsenal have always used overloads. Have always used the extra man to create the opportunities they need for their creative players to make passing lanes and find passing lanes to score. And is Wenger going to change? Like going from 4-2-3-1 to 5-3-2 or 3-4-2-1, however you want to call it, requires an ability sometimes to go, here's 5 at the back, here's 6, and we'll attack with 4 and we'll take 0-0. You know, as much criticism as Mourinho is getting for not chancing his arm and trying to win at Liverpool, he knew full well he wasn't going to lose. And if that meant playing 4 at the back and then another 4 at the back in front of them, so be it. Doesn't care. Arsenal, 1-0 up, 20 minutes to go, brought on a creator, maybe the best number 10 in the world at a striker, when probably a centre midfielder was needed. But that's the thing, Arsenal never settled for the 1-0. Arsenal never tried to sit on a lead, so to speak. They always go for the second, and by doing so on Saturday, they brought on one player who was completely ill-suited to the way Arsenal needed to play. Because Giroud's first touch and his ability to link up with players is brilliant, but you bring him on in that situation so you can loft long balls up to him. So where if Koscielny's under threat or Monreal's under threat, you just go poof, up to Giroud and your big man holds it up. He's not good at that. He's not good at sticking his elbows out like that, holding the ball up for 5 seconds and then passing it off to someone. It's just not his game. He needs the ball to his feet and then, he gets the ball from Iwobi, ball goes there, and then Iwobi goes off with the little flick on. Giroud's just not good enough but he's just not willing enough to just hold the ball. And then pass it back to Ozil or pass it back to Elneny. And recycle and go from there. He gets the ball, it goes to an attacker and they attack. There's no sense of just hold on to the ball. It's either all of us attack or nothing. And again, you can't fix that when your players that you bring on completely screw up a tactic that was working. If Giroud had been replaced by Walcott, Watford wouldn't have been able to push 20 yards up the field like they would, because they would have been scared of both Iwobi's and Walcott's pace and Ozil's ability to find either of them. It was just a case of Arsenal bringing on someone not because they had to, but because they could. So, how will this change for Thursday and Sunday? But we'll see the kids Thursday. I mean, we'll probably see Giroud again, Walcott, Wilshere. We'll go something like this with 2 up top and then Wilshere behind them, like we did at Ruben Kazan, and we're excellent at. But for next weekend at Everton, we still haven't seen Alexis, Lacazette and Ozil in the same team. And I don't think Wenger wants to only commit 3 guys to an attack and put it on the shoulders of 3 guys to an attack. But at the moment, I don't think they have any choice, because anytime Arsenal have a bit of pressure, they bring on Giroud, it's gone. And they have to get themselves out of that. They have to commit now to a game plan. Either this works and you want it and you commit to those 3 guys, or you figure out a way of playing Ozil, Lacazette, Alexis and Giroud in the same team. That would mean going back to 4 at the back. And if your only defensive midfielder is Coquelin, that's a problem. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting few days coming. Hopefully, we'll see an improvement. Hopefully, the players will actually, try to defend this time better as a unit, because Saturday wasn't good enough. Saturday was an example of how little slips in concentration and little mental errors can lead to huge consequences. And it would be nice to say they'll learn from this, but they've made these kinds of mistakes before. So we'll see. Anyway, if you enjoyed this analysis, leave a like or a thumbs up, leave a comment, and yeah, I've been Bradley away. Good luck.